Welcome, everybody, to another episode of Cup with Cup, Tuesday Tidbits for the Rocket Mortgage Challenge. A continued wet and rainy, soggy, pouring, soaking Tuesday here in Norman, Oklahoma. I feel like as far away as Detroit is for us, we are experiencing virtually the same system since about Friday or Saturday. So I can't imagine the course playing anything but super soft. I know it probably has good drainage and all that kind of stuff, but at this point in time, generally don't see with another 48 hours of rain coming that's really going to be able to dry out much. We've had the same thing here for 6 days now, and even my course, which has good drainage as well. It's just impossible once your ground gets saturated that much, and you see videos of all the highways and stuff flooding there. There's some guys in Slack that are close by, and some going to the tournament this week, and anything but firm and fast for sure this week is all they've said. One's going to the practice run, I believe, today or tomorrow, so interested to see what he says, and interested to see some pressers throughout the day, maybe later on today and tomorrow, to kind of hear what the guys have to say. For all intents and purposes, for me, especially from yesterday, I'm going to be focusing on, I wouldn't say I'm ruling out off the tee. I think off the tee matters, but definitely not. And I wasn't really on driving distance, really. So I'm going to be looking at the off the tee, good drives. So, in our PGA Research Center, good drives, meaning, doesn't have to technically be in the fairway, but still a scoreable drive, which I think when you go back and look a lot more of the 2019 setup, which was also wet. We talked about that yesterday. That's something I put into focus for the deep dive is good drives, a little bump up on all the approach stuff. Because I don't think you'll have as much. We know we're just not going to have as much run out there. Not at least Thursday, Friday, maybe by Sunday. It could be dry. Looks like close to 90, which will be steamy hot there with all the humidity and moisture out of the ground come Sunday. But, that's a long way down the week. By that point, your guys are already there or they're not. So definitely if you're looking to lean one of the other years, I would lean 2019. But in general, I think you can just sum it up. Ball striking is going to matter this week. We know that it does most weeks. And then, putting is always going to matter, but how do we quantify that? We talk about that a lot. I always bring it into my models, especially deep dive. I have an entire section in the deep dive committed to putting for the premium members. So and I factor that in when it gets up into the final ranks for tomorrow. Before we get too much far into it, always you can use Smash 20% off any package, weekly, monthly, annual. That includes a 7-day free trial. So all of our memberships, which I think is kind of unique out there, is everybody now gets to try us for 7 days to start out the gate. We don't collect any money from you or anything, until you've had 7 days to give it a try. And if you cancel before the 7 days, no harm, no foul. If we can't prove ourselves then, at least enough to stay on for, one more week or a month or whatever, then that's fine. I think we will and do, and showed some sneak previews of some of the stuff we have upcoming next few weeks to the premium members. More is going to come out over this next 4 or 5 days as we get some tidbits going out there. No pun intended, but really excited to see what we got coming out in the next basically 6 to 8 weeks for the size we head into NFL, college football, fall season, all that kind of stuff. Let's get the listener league filled up. It came out late last night. I apologize for that. I do have it in the link of this pod, so you can click it. 500 at first, flat payouts, limited rate, top 3 get GC swag. I'll give away our YouTube comment winners tomorrow. So like and subscribe this video and tell me who is your favorite play in the 9K range that gets you into the drawing tomorrow. I will announce those on the Movers and Shakers podcast. Leave us a rating, rate and review us on iTunes. Have big giveaways as always for the majors. The next one will be in 2 weeks for the British Open. Now's a great time to try us out for a month. You get the free week plus 4 more weeks. I'll get you through all the British Open, John Deere, 3M, all that kind of stuff coming up, and right up on the bubble of football. So you'll get some of our sneak preview football stuff as well if you give us that trial out for a month. Trending to be the highest right now. I think it's going to be fairly compacted up top. I think the top, let's see here, probably 20, 25 are all going to be very 1% here, 2% there, and it's going to scale up a little bit. I do think the top of the board, the top two, will be fairly clear. I got to kind of account for I think Hoffman was going to be fairly owned. He withdrew today, and Luke List withdrew, which I don't think he factored much. So we'll kind of crank that out overnight and get the final stuff out tomorrow on the projection side. Trending to be the highest in no specific order: Neiman, Tringali, Griot, Redmond, Webb, Wolf, Straka, Reed, Kokrak, and Decham. Right now, I will say the top two kind of pulling away from the field for me is Kokrak and Decham. I bumped Kokrak a little bit more with the Hoffman news. I bumped Homa up some already. I think people may drop down. And I'll still factor some of that in. Woodland, some steam there, some stuff I've heard. I just now started listening to the pods like I do on Tuesday. Him being around where Hoffman was, I think, he could get steamed up a little bit. A lot of guys get so set in early in the week. I say early in the week, it's only a 72-hour process, much different than NFL, that, it's easier to drop down or up right across, right close to those price ranges. Same with List, but List I didn't have high owned after Monday. But I think it also can change the overall builds at times, and we got to factor that in, a little bit, tweaking the algorithm and stuff for that. But right now, those 10 I think are pretty safe. And I do think what will happen is we'll have, and I talk about this a lot especially E9 and stuff like that. It'll be so tight because there's so many people that everybody's kind of focusing on. Those top 20 and 30 are going to be what they are. And then it's really how do you differentiate yourself, either mixing and matching those or picking and choosing the very, the sleepers, the Hank Lebiotas last week, the Doc of 2019, 2% here, 3% here, not loading up on them, but getting a few pieces of that into your player pool will make a big difference, especially this week because so much concentration on the guys, and the guys that are probably deservingly so doing good. Potential sleeper and low own for me. This is the first that I have 5 guys. 1, 2, 3, maybe 6. Let's see. I made note of them all here. Yeah. So, normally the DK ads, there's like 1, maybe 2 that I write up all the DK ads in the final rankings. I give a little note on them. But this week I'm gonna have to go maybe a little bit more into it. And typically the late ads that happen Tuesday in general are very low owned, or some could go under the radar just because, people researching stats, they got their models built. People don't like to bring them in late, all that kind of stuff. Some optimizers out there don't even put them in there at times until maybe late Wednesday, if they haven't updated their field. So it definitely can be advantageous. I am interested to see how these turn out, because I think I got 6 that I think I will potentially play, or at least on my next to last pool at this point. Seamus Powers, now they did price him pretty decently, 7,500, which I kind of like, because if they'd have thrown him in there at 66, 65, could have been, caught everybody's eye. I don't know how to say this guy's last name properly. I just call him Mito P. So he's a guy that got the 3 wins on the Corn Ferry and got the promotion. Didn't get the sponsor exemption originally because it was already, given, I think, Willie Z and then maybe someone else. But now is in the field at 7,000. I actually really like he's at 7,000, because I think most people are going to be like, who is – I think it's Peoria. If someone can tell me if that's right or wrong. You guys know sometimes I struggle with the proper enunciation on names, although I do try to correct myself if I figure it out it's wrong different. But let's say it's Mito Peoria, 7,000. I don't think many are going to click his name. And being that late ad, obviously playing extremely well. If he got the PGA so if you win 3 on the Corn Ferry, you get that promotion level up to the PGA Tour. Doesn't give you quote unquote status, obviously, we see here, but recent form is so good that maybe worth a try here, especially in this kind of, it's going to be a birdie fest. Those guys are used to having to play in birdie fest on the Corn Ferry a lot more than PGA. I don't mind that. I don't mind Uline that got added. I don't mind Ben Martin that got added. I don't mind Justin Suh that got added. And I don't mind Tan Lee that got added. Monday Q guy that does all the great write-ups has a pinned article on his Twitter that's a really good write-up on Tan Lee. So All 6 of those are going to be potentially next to last player pulls, and 1 or 2 may even creep into a potential for the 1 to 3 max type stuff. We'll get to that with the premium members tomorrow, but so those very unique, where especially in what we would consider a less than stellar field, some of these guys got good firepower. Peter Uline, he played in a lot of that stuff. I think he can get low and go score. I think Ben Martin can score. I like Justin Sub pretty much a lot of the time. And for the price difference in like a him and someone at some of these 69, 68, 67, he's 61, Tan Lee 6,000. I don't mind having the pieces of those, especially since I think for the most part, large and majority, especially quote unquote, the public out there that isn't dialed into the industry, large MMEs, large fields, those guys could be some great GPP MME flyers this week. I also think that Kazire is going to wind up being a lot less owned than he should be. Probably max of about 7%, could be 5 to 7. I get all the reasons why not to potentially play him, but he is a good putter. I know he's kind of showing the bad form downhill, but if there's a place for him to show up and get hot, this could be it. And if I'm going to get him a really low ownership in that range, especially if he starts flirting with like 4 to 5%, I don't mind him as a potential low owned sleeper. And Shank is quickly leaning towards being a similar spot as where I had Lebiota last week. I like him a lot. Look more, I was like, all right, am I missing something here? Not being talked up much at all. Even in the deep dive, I kind of don't have any issues with what I found, especially at his price. Rolling stats look good. Putting's okay. Good enough especially for the 6,500 price. And I think he's gonna be around 3%, 3 or 4%. So I like Shank. Lower than they should be. I got 2. One is Garnett, and I get it. I know we've heard. I mean, I've seen all the posts about historical or top putting performances and all that, but I think that will overshadow how well he's also played the rest of his game to an extent. Last week, maybe not, but the rest of it, especially at $7,000. I mean, he's 33 in my stat model, which was that specific original model does not bring in putting at all. Great inside with opportunities inside 18 feet, 19th in par 5, DK scoring, and he's okay at some of the other stuff. He has a 17th here back in 2019. He's 8th in bent grass original putting. Deep dive, I'll just give you a little hint. I think he was number 1 in my putting. So it's just one of those times where I think we talk about we know it's going to take a hot putter to probably be there and do well. And he's probably, let's call him top 4 in potential putting ceilings this week. Why not play him, especially at 3%? I like Garnett. I think he should be a little bit higher owned than what he's going to come in at. He's high on my list going into tomorrow. And then Matsu. I think Matsu, and I kind of thought this, I said this Monday, I think Webb's going to get some love. Reed's getting love. I think Matsu may kind of go a little underlooked there. At least be equal with Webb, and I think Matsu maybe shouldn't be equal, but we can see Matsu around 12 to 14%, and he may be one of my favorite plays outside of to go Bryson or not go Bryson. We're starting to have that. We're gonna have that discussion tomorrow several times, I'm sure. But I like Matsu. I like a ball striking. I mean, he's a great ball striker. If his wedges are dialed in. Yeah, I know the putting is what it is, but he's done that before. He's done well. He's done well here, so he must like. I go back to certain guys. History does matter to me, and in this instance, I like him. So I think he could be a good still up there at the top, especially when we're looking for leverage. As I mentioned with the weather and course, it's going to be super soft. Rain looks like all the way through Thursday. Spotty showers on Thursday. Doesn't look like any advantages. The wind is going to be out of the north, so chillier air. As far as showdown or anything like that, I don't see any advantages quite yet, but more on that tomorrow. We'll dial it all in tonight, get the research in, and then I will have the movers and shakers out tomorrow. Hopefully around lunchtime is when I've been trying to normally drop it. I appreciate you guys tuning in. Make sure to like, subscribe, rate, and review. Help us out there. Have a blessed evening, and I'll see you tomorrow.